Hi everyone, welcome to this declutter video. I've kind of been dreading this one because of the sheer massive number of products that I have in this category, which hopefully, as you can tell here, are going to be my cream eyeshadows. I also included in here some of these more kind of gel-like shadows because they're in the same kind of potted form, but yeah, there are just way too many. I did not know that until I put these all together, that I had such a large number of these. So I definitely need to work on trying to cut these down. So if you would like to keep me company, I'm going to be swatching a ton of these and going through them and deciding which ones to keep and which ones to let go of. So if that's something that interests you, please keep watching. If you're interested in any of the other declutter videos in this series, I will link the entire playlist in the upper right-hand corner for you to binge watch if you want to. Of course, please subscribe to the channel by hitting that red subscribe button. Follow Allura Beauty over on Instagram. I'm trying to organize several giveaways, not only on this channel, but over on Instagram. I feel like that's a nice pastime and activity to do, especially with people stuck at home, and just something to help brighten up people's day. I don't know how quickly I'll be able to mail out the prizes, but that we will leave for another time. And also, if you haven't checked out the video swatching Stila's new summer 2020 collection, I will also link that in the upper right-hand corner for you. So let's get to looking at these potted cream and sometimes gel eyeshadows. This is my personal use collection. And so I'm gonna go through them. I'm gonna make a personal decision about what to keep and what not to. That doesn't mean you would have to follow those same rules. And when I get rid of something from my collection, my first priority is to be able to give it and pass it on to someone like friends or family. The second would be, if it's new, to be able to put it in a giveaway or donate it to a women's shelter. The third step or option is to clean it out and then recycle it, whether through TerraCycle or the recycling bin. And the very last resort is just put it in the trash, which I don't think you should really need to unless the packaging is just completely not recyclable. So let's go ahead. How am I even going to do this? Usually I just dump them out all on the ground, which maybe is what I'll do, because we have to count all these and see what we're working with here. So what's interesting is that I've done a pretty good job over the years of actually separating these into their respective categories. So if I have like a collection of ColourPop shadows, I've pretty much kept them together. I've kept my paint pots together here. So it's interesting. I don't know whether that's relevant or not, but kind of interesting to see that I've done that. So the first thing I'm going to do, and hopefully I can make some substantial headway in doing this, which is to do a visual check and see if I have any gut reactions to anything, so that I can immediately, even without having to swatch it or sort it, if I know that I want to keep it or I don't want to keep it. That will narrow down the number of ones that I have to organize and actually swatch. So first off is this new unused and unopened color or Super Shock shadow by ColourPop in the shade Drift. It's this shimmery maroony shade, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in a giveaway. Then over here I have in their boxes still a set of Makeup Forever Aqua creams, and I don't believe any of these have been used. I'm just gonna do a quick check to make sure that they're not, you know, dried out. Ooh, they may be. Wow, that would be really sad if these were all dried out. Okay, no, they still definitely have creaminess to them. And they say that these can be used for the eyes and the lips, which is nice. Oh, actually, now that I'm looking at these, oh, interesting, this shade is for lips and cheeks specifically. So I'm gonna put this in the cream blush section, which I'll do a separate video for. So this one says eyes and cheeks, the lips and cheeks, putting that with the cream blushes. Okay, so left are these 5 shades. So again, I'm going to just do a quick visual check. Whoa, a super bright yellow one. Oh, I've actually already swatched this one from before, so it's, ooh, it's super creamy still. That really surprises me. But would I ever use that on my eyes? It's very interesting. Definitely for maybe like a Halloween or fun makeup look, I would use that. Shade 26. This is a bright purple one. Oh, this one has been swatched also. Shimmering blue one also has been swatched. So I'm not sure. I guess I'll keep them in the boxes. Ooh, this one's really pretty. This one has not been swatched at all. So I'm definitely gonna keep this one, and I'm gonna keep it in its box to help it not dry out. Ooh, this lime green shimmery one. All right, so these three, there was only one of the 5 that was not swatched. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with these. I'm gonna set them aside for now because they aren't truly cream eyeshadows. They're more like theater-like. They're very, very strongly pigmented. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with these for now. We'll set them aside for now. I have this L'Oreal Hip Cream Shadow Paint. I don't believe they sell or make these anymore in the shade Lofty. Never been opened or used. So again, I am going to kind of pass this along one way or the other. I have this CoverGirl Bombshell Shine Shadow in Gold Goddess. I'm not gonna keep this. I have this Beauty Rush Cream Shadow in the shade Glampagne. Also not going to keep this. All right, and then I think it's probably pretty easy for me to go through some of my paint pots and know if I'm going to keep them or not. This MAC paint pot in Soft Ochre, definitely going to keep. This is actually a shade that I recently reconstituted. It was pretty dried out, but it's very easy to make them like normal again in terms of their creaminess. I know that I will keep my Painterly paint pot and definitely going to keep my Groundwork paint pot. So this is actually an example of it being super dried out, but all you need to do is to actually take a spatula and break it apart and mix it, and that makes it restore its kind of creaminess. There are plenty of videos on YouTube to how to restore your paint pots if you want to watch those videos for tutorials. And then I have the whole collection from Wet n Wild, their Mega Jelly eyeshadows. And I'll keep some of the more neutral ones to swatch to see if I actually want to hold on to them. But I already know these like bright purpley shimmery shade, this blue shimmering shade, and this more maroon shade. I would prefer to have a paint pot form instead of this kind of jelly form. Not that there's anything wrong with it. These are actually really pretty, although from looking at it visually now, they might actually be dried out, but let's go. Oh yeah, that's completely dried out. Oh, it's because there wasn't a stopper in that one, maybe? Nope, this one is also completely dried out. I'm gonna check the neutral ones too. There's a little bit of life on that one. Okay, so that makes my decision easy. These are all completely dried out or very close to that, and they're not worth it for me to try to salvage them. I don't know even if they could be. So all the Wet n Wild jelly ones are going to be cleaned out and recycled. And actually that makes me think of this whole series of MAC Big Bounce shadows that I had. Man, such a long time ago that I did the swatch videos on these. These have kind of a similar consistency to the jelly ones from Wet n Wild, so I'm gonna go ahead and open these and see if they are even viable still, because these are definitely years old. Now these definitely have, they are dried out, but they have more humidity to them still, even dried out. And actually, I might even prefer them this way because otherwise they're pretty goopy and not as, it's harder to control the application. Ooh, that one is super dried out. Okay, so that one's in the shade Rich Thrills. So on these MAC ones with packaging like this, you can back to MAC them instead of recycling them yourself. It's actually really pretty, even when dried out. Ooh, this one is still liquidy, so I'll leave that in there. Okay, so I'm gonna leave these in here, and you see they're a little more soft in the wash of color, but they're still very pretty. So I'm gonna leave these in here, and I'll just include them in the swatches to see if I really wanna keep them. And then I have these 5 cream pigments by Illamasqua, and I love the formula for these, but again, it's more kind of for artists and for specialized makeup looks. And since I, especially nowadays, don't really do that kind of stuff anymore, I do remember years ago when I used to do reviews and swatch videos for Illamasqua collections, how much I love these, and I even did looks with these. But I think practically speaking, I'm just not going to really be using these. And I have a Makeup Forever palette with a bunch of those cream pigments, so if I really needed something special, I think I could turn to that. So I think I'm going to see if someone else can make better use of these, even though, you know, I have a special place in my heart for Illamasqua. I even like just looking at the way that the packaging is designed and things like that, but I know that I'm just not going to really be reaching for these, so sadly I think I'm gonna set these aside to give them away. And 4 more paint pots that I know I'm gonna keep. One is this, it's actually a chromaline, but I put it in my paint pots because that's how I'll use it as a base. It is in pure white, it's just a pure matte white. This one is in Eclair. This one is Bare Study, and this is India Wood. All of these I know I want to keep. Okay, I think that's all in terms of ones that I absolutely know I want to keep or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and some way, somehow get through all of these and try to put them into color families. I just realized that I got so overwhelmed by the number of these that I forgot to count them. So let's do that before I do any sort of further dividing and putting them into a different place. So some of these off camera I'm gonna count first over here. Okay, there's 50, 50, 50, and 4. So 154 cream eyeshadows is what we're starting with. Okay, I'm already exhausted just trying to group these. So where should we start? Let's go ahead and start right in the middle here. These are the more pinky shades that I have. So let's start with this MAC paint pot in Let's Skate. I have an Avon, what are these called? Cream eyeshadows in Sorbet Bonbon. I think that's what that says. This one is nice and cooling on the skin. And we have an e.l.f. cream shadow, or this says Smudge Pot, in the shade Ain't That Sweet. We have a ColourPop Super Shock Shadow in the shade Sand Swoon. Ooh, this kind of surprisingly feels gritty and dry in the pan. Still goes on really nicely though. Another ColourPop one in Party Girl. Ooh, this one's dried out too. Wow, I'm kind of surprised about that. I didn't expect the ColourPop ones to have any issues with drying out. That one, I mean, I can't even see it on my skin here. Then one of the MAC Big Bounce shadows in the shade Trophy. So this is definitely dried out a little bit, but I actually like the control over the consistency with it being a little more dry and less gel liquid like. And last is a Maybelline Color 24 Hour Tattoo Metal in the shade Inked in Pink. Oh yeah, this one's a little dried out too. All right, so hopefully you can see the swatches better now. I'm gonna get rid of the second one, which was the one from Avon. Also gonna get rid of the third one here, which was the e.l.f. one. Gonna get rid of ColourPop's Party Girl, the one that barely would swatch. And these actually, the last two swatched pretty similar to the eye. There is a slight color difference, but I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the trophy one. I actually really like the color, but I just know this form factor I'm not gonna reach for as much. I'm gonna move on to this group, which are shades that have underlyings of kind of pink and maybe warmer toned purpley tones to them, or like wine tones. This first one is a Flower Beauty Cream eyeshadow. This is in the shade, I'm not sure what this shade is. Oh, Mum's the Word. So this one also is definitely not soft in texture like it usually is at first, but still you can get color out of it. ColourPop in Party of 5. That is so pretty. It has multi-dimensional shimmer in there. A J-Cat Priz Metal in the shade Champagne Whiz. Another ColourPop shade in Sequin. Now this one is actually a little more rusty brown now that I'm opening it up and looking at it, so I'm going to recategorize this one. Actually, no, now I realize I put it in this section for a reason, because it doesn't really fit anywhere else. It's also pretty dried out. Next is an e.l.f. Long Lasting Lustrous eyeshadow. I don't know what the shade is. They have stickers on the bottom, but they really don't adhere well, so they fall off all the time, unfortunately. So this one's definitely more purple toned in comparison. And a ColourPop shade in Hot Tamale. Oh, I'm getting really nervous about how dry all these ColourPop ones feel. This one's definitely more a deep brown, but again, I don't know that I have a better place to swatch it in terms of color family. Okay, I'm gonna let go of this third one from J-Cat. Also gonna let go of this one from ColourPop Sequin, and the last one from ColourPop Hot Tamale. All right, next I'm gonna look at basically white or cream colored shades. So let's start with MAC's Big Bounce Shadow in the Cool Elite. Not sure if I like that texture. We have Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Too Cool. Pretty dried out. We have got e.l.f.'s in the shade Pearls of Wisdom. I wish these openings were larger, fit the rest of the jar. ColourPop in the shade Girly. That one definitely has nice creaminess to it still. It's more of like a flat white. Or actually maybe like on camera it looks a little bit goldeny white there. Another ColourPop one in the shade Stole the Show. Ooh, super bouncy and creamy still. Then a different type of e.l.f. one Long Lasting Lustrous Shadow. Again, I do not know what the shade name is because the sticker on the bottom fell off. I used to really like these, but when they dry out, they do get a bit crumbly. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the first three. That's MAC's the Elite Cool, the Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Too Cool, and the e.l.f. one in Unknown Name, and then I'm gonna keep the last three. I have a few more silvery shades. This is MAC's Pro Longwear Paint Pot in Chrome Angel. Illamasqua's Liquid Metal in the shade Surge. So super, oh my god, amazing. And an e.l.f. Long Lasting Lustrous Shadow in this silver shade. I'm going to keep the first two and get rid of the last e.l.f. one. Then I have these 3 black or deeper gunmetal type of metallic shades. This is e.l.f. in the color Hit the Town. An e.l.f. Long Lasting Lustrous eyeshadow. And a ColourPop shadow in the shade Roulette. Again, pretty dry, but still really nice color payoff. So I'm gonna keep the first one and the last one. I'm gonna get rid of this middle e.l.f. one. All right, we're gonna go with some various hues of nude here. ColourPop's Glow. Maybelline Color Tattoo in Barely Beige. Oh, so dried out. That makes me sad. I love my Maybelline Color Tattoo shadows. I might try to reconstitute these the same way I would with some paint pots. A Jane Iredale Smooth Affair for Eyes eyeshadow slash primer in the shade Naked. It's interesting. It's very creamy still, but it barely has any color. Now it does say eyeshadow slash primer. Okay, this is a L'Oreal Hip Cream Shadow Paint in the shade 807 Secretive. Again, I don't think they make these anymore. Let's see if it even comes out of the tube. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, super creamy still. Next is ColourPop in the shade Strength. Benefit's Honey Bunny. Is that the name of the kind of product it is? I think the shade is Gabby. This one, you can see from the shrinked pot, is super, super dried out. Which again, is unfortunate. I used to love these shadows. But it just goes to show you, you know, when you aren't even capable of using something and it just kind of goes to waste. Another Benefit Honey Bunny shadow in Lana. Now this one isn't dried out at all. Oh my gosh, that is an incredible shade. Wow. Beautiful. A MAC paint pot in the shade Nubile. A MAC paint in the shade Sublime Nature. Stunning and super pigmented. And MAC's paint pot in Layin' Low. I'm gonna let go of Maybelline's Barely Beige because it's mostly dried out. I'm gonna let go of L'Oreal's Hip and Secretive. And then I'm gonna let go of this shade from ColourPop, which is Strength, and the dried out one from Benefit, which was Gabby. I actually missed 2 more from this category. This is another ColourPop one in Cornelius. Again, pretty dry to the touch. And ColourPop in 2AT. Oh no, I loved this shade, but it doesn't even really transfer anymore. I'm gonna let go of both of these ColourPop ones. Okay, we're gonna move on to some kind of champagne-y colors, going into maybe slightly peachy champagnes. This is a Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Barely Branded. Again, pretty dried out, but very pretty color. Another Benefit one in the shade Lana. This is a Recess shadow, but this one, again, such a shame that it's so completely dried out. This one, the cap felt a little loose on there, so that's probably my fault. This MAC Electrical Cool eyeshadow in Pure Flash. Super pretty. ColourPop in the shade Plunge. Ooh, very creamy and bouncy still. I'm gonna make sure to secure these lids super tight as I'm going through these. And we have another Jane Iredale Smooth Affairs for Eyes eyeshadow and primer in the shade Canvas. Again, super sheer in color, but I think I'm gonna keep these as kind of just more base, like a base primer. MAC Paint Pot in Mooncake. Pretty sure this was limited edition. And then a Flower Beauty Color Play Cream eyeshadow in the shade Wild Geranium. I'm gonna let go of the first two, which was the Maybelline in Barely Branded, and then the Dried Up Recess Shadow by Benefit in Lana. Okay, now this family of shades is more kind of like greigey toned shades. So let's start with MAC's Paint Pot in Camel Coat. Another Paint Pot in Taylor Gray. A Color Tattoo by Maybelline in the shade Tough as Taupe. I remember, oh, it's so super dry. I remember this being just a little dry even when I first got it. And a Paint Pot in Stormy Pink. Ooh, that one is really purple tone, so I'll go ahead and put that with the purples. But for now, I'm going to keep them except for the Maybelline dried out one. Okay, then I have these three. I'm not even sure how I would describe what color family this is. They seemed kind of similar. So first is MAC's Paint Pot in Morning Frost. I guess these are kind of taupey-ish shades. Next is an e.l.f. One in Cruisin' Chic. Very pretty too. And last is a Revlon Color Stay Cream Eyeshadow Bold in the shade Stardust. Oh, that's actually very silvery, even though in the pan it looks a little more taupey purple. I'm very tempted to keep all of these, but I think I'm gonna just keep the Revlon one. Yeah. All right, next up are these kind of like vaguely dirty goldy kind of shades. So this is these first four are going to be all from ColourPop. That's Fringe. Yeah, why are these dried out? Ooh, goes on really pretty still though. High Tide. Get Lucky. That one's still pretty creamy. Ooh, wow. And Mirage. Then we have a MAC paint in the shade Magritte. Okay, I'm gonna keep Fringe and Get Lucky and get rid of the rest. And then we have another grouping of gold shades here. First is a MAC Big Bounce Shadow in Impeccably Rich. one of Flower Beauty's in the shade Good as Marigold. One of Elf's in the shade Gotta Glow. And a MAC paint pot in Treasure Hunt. The last shade is an Elf Long Lasting Lustrous eyeshadow. All right, all of these are very nice shades, but some of these just I don't think work well for my skin tone. So I'm only gonna keep this last one by Elf, unknown shade name, and the second one that I swatched here, which was the Flower Beauty one in the shade Good as Marigold. And that's this one right here. All right, this next category that we're gonna look at are my duochromed shades. So all different kinds of colors, but they are predominantly duochrome in finish. This first one is by Avon. This is a pretty old one that I've used a lot. It's a Cool Bliss eyeshadow in the shade Pebble Stone. Now it's pretty freaking dried out, so even though I've loved this color, it's pretty gone. Next to our ColourPop shades, this first one is in Hope. Super pretty, flashes pink with a white base. Next is Gecko. Oh, the duochrome on that one is pretty weak actually. And we have a Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Waves of White. Ooh, this one's dried out too. Oh, so pretty. Strong flash of blue with a white base. This is a ColourPop one, but it's one of the Jelly Much shadows in the shade Hallucinogenius. This is also pretty dried out, but the shimmer still really comes across. Next four are going to be Maybelline Color Tattoos. This one is in the shade Seashore Frosts. Cool Crush. Blue Paradise. And Icy Mint. Then we have a Stila Magnificent Metals Metallic Pixie Dust. I think that's the shade name. Very bouncy in texture, super glittery. Another ColourPop one in the shade Kindness. More of a topper, I'd say. And a Sigma eyeshadow base in the shade Flare, or maybe that's the category Flare, in the shade Spy. Feels pretty dried out. Oh, no. Goes on super well still. Again, I don't know why this opening is so small. This packaging is so bulky. That opening should be larger. All right, easy decision is this first dried out one by Avon. Next is this third shade that's going, Super Shock Shadow by ColourPop in the shade Gecko. Also gonna get rid of this Maybelline Tattoo, Color Tattoo in the shade Seashore Frosts. Also going to let go of this Maybelline Color Tattoo in the shade Icy Mint, keeping the rest of these. I've got 4 peachy toned shades, so let's do that in the little room that we have here. First 2 are going to be from ColourPop. We start with Flipper. Next is Shark Attack. Dried out. A MAC Pro Longwear in Perky. And a J-Cat Prismetal Shadow in the shade Chrome Galaxy. Wow. Okay, these are all really pretty, but I think practically speaking, I'm just gonna keep that last one by J-Cat. Okay, we've got greens and blues next. MAC Paint Pot in Clearwater is up first. Just a super unique shade. We're gonna move on next to MAC's Big Bounce Shadow in Spread the Wealth. This one is very, very liquidy and bouncy still. Ooh, that formula is not cooperating anymore. Very interesting. MAC Paint Pot in Antique Diamond. It's more of a silvery grade green. Flower Beauty in the shade Time Willow Tail. Oh, this one's particularly dried out feeling. But still goes on really beautiful. Those Flower Beauty ones, even though they seem dry, they still go on really nicely. I've got a J-Cat Prismetal in the shade Houdini. A Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Cream Eyeshadow in Shimmering Moss. Another Benefit creaseless cream shadow liner in Skinny Jeans. This used to be very popular. This one's still very creamy too. A Revlon Color Stay Bold in Emerald. Another MAC Paint Pot in the shade Delft. ColourPop Shadow in Coconut. Wow, stunning. Revlon Color Stay Bold in the shade Peacock. Next to that ColourPop one, these seem so dull. And this one's a duo one from ColourPop in Shameless and Bay. So that one's a purple tone shade, but on this side it's a green based shade. I'm going to let go of most of these shades, so I will just tell you which ones that I plan to keep. I'm going to let go of all 4 first ones, then keep this one in Houdini from J-Cat. Also going to keep this Tarte Amazonian Clay shade. Then I'm going to keep these 3 shades. This was the Revlon one in the shade Emerald. This is MAC's Delft, and then this was that Super Shock shadow in the shade Coconut. I'm gonna get rid of the last ones. All right, let's take a look at some purple shades, starting with a Flower Beauty cream shadow in the shade Lilac You a Lot. A MAC Big Bounce shadow in Count Your Assets. Maybelline Color Tattoo shade in Lavish Lavender. This is a new Kid Cosmetics, what is this called? Eye color in the shade Purple Quartz. Next is a MAC Paint Pot in the shade Stormy Pink. ColourPop in Prickly Pear. MAC paint pot in Frozen Violet. Another MAC Big Bounce shadow in the shade Luxury Touch. A Revlon Color Stay Bold shadow in the shade Merlot. And an e.l.f. Long Lasting Lustrous eyeshadow. I think purple shades are quite difficult to do in cream form. I'm going to keep this first one from Flower Beauty, Maybelline's Lavish Lavender, MAC's Stormy Pink, and ColourPop's Prickly Pear. Gonna get rid of the rest. All right, and all we have left are shades or categories of brown shades, very roughly divided. So let's start with maybe kind of more goldeny browns. So first by ColourPop, we have the shade Smash. Also ColourPop, we have Snakebite. An e.l.f. smudge pot in the shade Back to Basics. Beautifully creamy. A Shiseido Shimmering Cream Eye Color in BR709. ColourPop's Blaze. Super pretty. A MAC Big Bounce shadow in the color Rich Sweet. This one might be a little too dried out to even really get a good swatch. ColourPop in the shade On the Rocks. ColourPop again in Millionaire. This one is all crumbled. Ooh. And probably partly as a result, it's very dry. Yeah, super dry. And a Giorgio Armani Eyes to Kill in the shade 15. Wow, incredible. I had forgotten about this. I need to put this in my more regular use pile. So we are saying goodbye to ColourPop's Snakebite, this one from MAC in Rich Sweet, and this one by ColourPop in Millionaire. All right, this category was supposed to be kind of more chocolatey, cocoa-y browns, but there are some taupey ones mixed in here. This is an Avon Cool Bliss eyeshadow in the shade Frothy Mocha. Very dried out. Another Avon product, this is called Cream Eyeshadow in the shade Frothy Mocha. Interesting. Wonder if these are just updated formulas. Very creamy. And cooling on the skin too. The Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Cream Shadow in the shade Slate. A MAC Electric Cool eyeshadow in the shade Super Watt. Now this is kind of broken apart, but still absolutely stunning. Next we have a Makeup Forever Aqua Cream in shade, I believe this is shade 15. A Revlon Color Stay Bold in the shade Cognac. Long Lasting Lustrous eyeshadow. ColourPop in the shade Bravery. This is a MAC cream color base in the shade Take Root. The surface is dry, but if you work it, you'll get to a very pigmented cream color base underneath. This has an interesting sheen to it, like almost like a silvery sheen. And a L'Oreal Hip Cream Shadow Paint in the shade Nervy. Right, we're gonna get rid of that first shade here from Avon. That was the old, or what I'm guessing is the old version of Frothy Mocha. I'm actually gonna get rid of this deepest one, Revlon's Cognac. It's very interesting because in here it looks more chocolatey brown. It's very deep once it goes on the skin. Also going to let go of the e.l.f. Lustrous Shadow, and I'm also going to let go of ColourPop in Bravery. Oh, and one more, this last L'Oreal Hip Pigment too. Then the final grouping of colors is for more coppery browns. We start with MAC's Electrocool Eyeshadow in Gilded Thrill. MAC's Big Bounce Shadow in Up the Ante. This is a BA Bombshell Cosmetics eye base in Undercover Lover. Got this in a makeup subscription box, I'm sure. ColourPop in the shade Kathleen Lights. Next is another MAC Big Bounce Shadow in the shade Sizzlin' Diva. Ooh, this one's still kind of liquidy. Illamasqua Liquid Metal in the shade Enrapture. One of e.l.f.'s shades in Brownie Points. Interesting again. It looks kind of lighter in the pot, but it goes on much deeper and much less coppery. And a Flower Beauty one in Flirty Florette. This one's very creamy still. And the last one we have is a MAC Electrocool Eyeshadow in the shade Coil. Okay, I'm a little surprised, but I'm gonna get rid of most of these. I'll keep the first shade, MAC's Gilded Thrill, fourth shade, ColourPop's Kathleen Lights, and this shade here, Illamasqua's Enrapture. Okay, the last thing left to do is to revisit the Aqua Color or the Aqua Creams by Makeup Forever. So right away, I'm gonna set this one aside. I'm not going to keep that one. And let's look at this one, shade 16. This one looks new and unused. It's a little bit cracked, but I'm gonna keep this one. 25, it looks like I've already swatched this. Shade 26. And this green one is shade 23. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna let go of the yellow one, which was shade 24, and I'm gonna let go of this purple one, which is shade 26. All right, we did pretty well, is my guess, just visually from this pile of ones that I am going to eliminate from my collection. So I'm happy about that. Let's get it into concrete numbers and go ahead and count. Okay, there are a total of 82 of these that I am going to eliminate from my collection. So 154 minus 82 leaves me with 72 cream eyeshadows left. I have eliminated more than half of the collection. I am very satisfied with that. Now, 72 cream eyeshadows, still never a practical number, but I'm not gonna beat myself up about that. I am really happy with cutting down on all of these. A lot of these will be back to MAC'd. A lot of these are easy to clean out and do normal recycling, and a lot of these can still be used by other people, friends and family, still very viable. So very satisfied with that. I hope that this was satisfying for you to watch also. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and stick around. There are going to be many, many more in the future. Bye.